Welcome back. So, in the lobby of Odyssey for Hades versus Bly. Hades needs 20 seconds, and now we're waiting for Bly to say ready, so should be getting into the game. There we go. Easy peasy. So we just saw Hades, aka Awers. Awers in game, Hades on his friends list, like, it's the same guy. Take out Ziggy, mech versus mech. I do believe Awers plays mech versus Zerg as well, so that's why this makes this extra interesting. And of course, Bly, a fan favorite, to get through this tournament as well. As this, as I said, isn't like the most star-studded lineup we've had. Certainly some other these past weeks have actually been really, really good, but still a lot of good European Zerg players. Bly amongst them. I think we'll be going to the semifinals at the very least to probably face Xancer, but Penguin, a Korean Zerg, might have something to say about that. And in that case, I'm really sure who would take that, Bly or Xancer, or Penguin. But Bly is certainly the more popular name here in this best of three. I'm sure a lot of people give him a lot of credit, but he's facing this guy in the top left, the Red Terran, Awers. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it's Bly. Going for a pull first. Nothing too early, but definitely early enough to send those two links forward. Skipping on the gas temporarily, like there we go. Decide to take it. Now, of course, Awers is going to have a wall off, and the two links, or however many he decides to make, could be 2, could be 8. Really depends on how bad you really want to get a cancel in the command center as opposed to just a simple stall out. It's about the command center that he will probably put on the low ground. I know he's putting on the high ground versus Terran, and he has been putting on the high ground versus other races too. But with the SCV scouts, he should feel very safe to put on the low grounds, and it's certainly worth to do that. The SCV scouts, once upon a time, was definitely unnecessary. Zergs barely ever went for a pool first to anything aggressive. But there was definitely a month where that was the only thing any Zerg ever did was go 2 lings into a roach push, and it would, you know, the best way to scout it and defend against it would definitely be the SCV scouting. So Awers, he actually sees that lings are already out. Bly doesn't mind him seeing that, because as long as they push the SCV away, the Roachborn isn't being scouted, and that's the most important thing about this. If it was literally 6 lings and they all came in a line against the SCV, well then Awers is like, okay, I'll just keep the Reaper at home, or I'll meet them halfway and try and get some shots on them, because of course the other build the Zerg player could do would be something with speed coming out really quickly, and that's a little different with how you handle that. With the Roaches, you are going to want to scout it, and you're going to want to get Cyclones. But with that SCV going home and the Reaper looking desperately for the lings, that will not be scouted. That's definitely a problem. Hellions aren't what you want from it. The last time I saw this end the game right off the bat was probably months ago. Generally, the Reaper does eventually go across the map and sees like a single Roach come out, and it's like, oh shit. And they build Cyclones, try and buy time with a bunker, and they manage to do that, but they lose like SCVs or something like that. Point is, they usually stay alive. It just gives the Zerg player a lead, but we'll see. We do have the Reaper scouting those Roaches, exactly like I said. Eventually it does go across the map once it thinks it's safe. Widowmine is on the way out. That's not really what you want, but he wanted to make a Banshee primarily, so he didn't have the gas to build a Cyclone. Definitely not more than 1 right off the bat. Now he does, so a Widowmine and a Cyclone is a bit of an odd pair, but honestly, Widowmine's not bad to have. It'll take, you know, quite a bit of damage off the Roaches. It's definitely the Cyclone and the Banshee, though, that's going to stop this, really, truly. Of course, the Widowmine should just be a one-shot wonder, literally, with the Ravagers being available. There you go. And it only got 1 Roach, so not the best at all. But the Banshee and Cyclone combination really should be enough. In fact, it still times out fast enough that the reactor isn't going to go down here. It was on the right side, and the Ravagers did not target that with the Frozen Files. Hellion even buys a couple of shots. It's a good use of a Hellion. Good boy, Hellion. That was weird course of battles. I guess he was looking for the SCVs being pulled. I don't know. Only got 2 SCVs there. Massacre in the Cyclone. The other one just by time. The Banshee will get the last couple of shots here, and I don't think more than 6 SCVs should go down. In fact, there it is. Just 5? 5 it is. So last minute defense from Awers, but still a good one. Question is, did Bly, is he okay with that? Did he do enough damage for him to get into a macro game? Now, Bly was droning during that entire engagement. He got a 3rd base that's already halfway done, and he starts up his speed. Still want to get speedlings. Bly is kind of flip-flops between being a Roach player and a Ling player, but in very aggressive maneuvers, right? I'm not talking he flips between being a Muta Bling Ling player and a Roach Hydra, or Roach Infester, actually. Roach Hydra's pretty old school. Roach Infester player, I mean, he flip-flops between being like Roach Nidus and, 2-base Muta, or something weird like that. So I'm not quite sure where he wants to take this game, but with the speed on the Lings, I imagine maybe it's not pure Roaches. I don't know, honestly, what is Bly's plan of attack lately. We don't get to cast him nearly as much, and this has been one of the Corsair Cups he decided to come back for. So at one point in time, he was doing like every single one, and then it was just not so much, and yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. So I don't know what he's playing like. And the last time I cast him, he was just doing really aggressive maneuvers like Bly is usually known for. So of course, being sent into a macro game post-aggression is going for +1 on Roaches. Alright then. He still got speed though, alright. I mean, speed is such a good tool to have on speedlings. That's never a determining factor if they're going to go Roaches or not. It just is sometimes something they skip if they are going to go pure Roach Infester. And certainly if he hadn't gotten that, I would be calling Roaches all over the place. But it is Roach Infester. Infestation bit's already down. Ours is going Mech. Now Bly might just know how ours plays, and is already preparing to deal with Mech. You can go Spire against Mech, it's just that you're going to be getting to bigger and sturdier units, such as the Roaches, maybe even Swarm Hosts. Infestation Pit doesn't necessarily mean Infestors. And Europe was at one point most well known for its Swarm Hosts defense against Mech. That is 3 Banshees going to the main base. Some of them were already tagged, I guess, by a couple of Queens, but they all live, and that's a little scary. So 8 drones in total. That is a very quick hive, so that's the other option with the Infestation Pit. We'll see what he does with that. Hydralisk in here, still no Spire, so maybe not Greater Spire. But then what is going to be to the hive? Maybe just Vipers. Which are definitely useful against Mech. It's not a problem to go for Vipers. They're going to be awfully quick. Ours, defending here against a very, very small Roach attack. It's important for ours to, like, not only scout the hive, eventually taking care of the Spire. Not only scout the hive, which he did not. That hive was started as soon as the Banshees left. It's also important that he scouts that there just aren't many Roaches. Like, there's a big difference between a Zerg player that's massing Roaches and looking to kill you, and a Zerg player that is sending forth 6 Roaches and nothing else. Because that Zerg, the latter Zerg, you can kind of already tell, well, okay, if he's not attacking me, then I guess he's going for a lot of tech. And hopefully that'll give ours an idea of how this late game's gonna look. And I would say a response would be to get Vikings. Unfortunately, the Banshee Viper not quite working out here at all. It uses 2. One's very weak. But does, I guess, stop the drones from a little while. Scan goes down, sees the hive. Now he knows the exact timing. And that was a good time to scan. I mean, that was such a quick hive that it would be hard to tell exactly like what's happening, and the scan is definitely called for. But as I said, the response to this sometimes, like well, how do I respond to it? I keep making units, I spread out my tanks, right? Well, actually, Vikings have proven to be quite useful against Vipers. I think like at one point in time, a lot of people were just saying like they wouldn't possibly let their Vipers die or something. I don't know. Vipers were so much scarier a year ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Heart of the Swarm, basically, right, guys? They were so scary. Their Blind and Cloud lasted a lot longer, and they just seemed to never die, or were so easy to replace, they might as well have never died. But really now, when you watch the gods of mech, like Gumiho, have to deal with Vipers, it's really not that bad. You know, they get like 6 Vikings, they snipe them, and even if they get the Blind and Cloud, their tanks are spread out, and it doesn't last as long, so they're usually okay to deal with your hits. But the way Gumiho plays mech and the ways Awers played mech here is very different, and I'll get into that after this engagement. It's pure Hydra, so going into already siege tanks is going to be a little bit questionable without something sturdier to help block for them. They do have their upgrades, but the Roaches were a little late to the party. Now, Bly wants to keep Awers off of 4th base for as long as possible, because that should be what is most difficult for a mech player to get 3rd base. That is some good blinding clouds. Those tanks were pretty clumped up, so that might just be the end of ours here. I said Vipers weren't as big of a deal, but as I also said, I was going to go into maybe why that would be very different in this game compared to some of the other mech games we have seen. Those blinding clouds were perfect. There wasn't much of a spread on those tanks, and there wasn't much support for the tanks either. Liberators are going to go harass, and Hellions weren't available. Communicating with the admin to probably hold the other semifinals. That was already ready to go. The other semifinals will be Keen versus Sort of, as this is maybe going to go fast. I think it's going to be okay to hold. Anyways, so Awers loses that game. He tried to take a 4th base at a pretty low supply from mech and wasn't anticipating those really amazing blinding clouds from the Vipers. I was talking about Gumiho and like the difference of like how he plays, and Gumiho has a lot of pressure going on the Zerg player while he mechs. He has Thor drops, he has Hellion run-bys, he has Hellbat pressure. Ours defended and then macroed. There really wasn't any aggression from him besides Banshees, which did not do, I think, the damage they were hoping to do. They didn't buy a lot of time, and they didn't kill like 20 drones. So he probably should have just waited on the 4th base and played defensive until he knew he could take on a larger force. Maybe waited for Vikings too. The thing about the Vikings is it's fantastic if they snipe the Vipers preemptively, but that's not always a guarantee, of course, so you really want to have them to at least kill the Vipers and make it more even trade if they do get a couple of really good blinding clouds. Oh, well, there's no game 2, so never mind. I was right to call this to go fast. Apparently Hades just forfeits. And we'll be going into the other semifinal, so yay, way to go Bly. So that'll take us into the first semifinal, Keen versus Sort of. A bit awkward. I don't know if I'll play an out or not. But yeah, we're gonna do Keen versus Sort of first. They're waiting longer. Bly versus Answer will be happening after. Oh, so many messages to tap here, Jesus. So right, officially, Bly moves on to face Zan. So it's gonna be a ZVZ in one semifinal and a ZVT in another. So just need Keen to pay attention. And since he is AFK, I guess I'll take a break. Awkward, but we'll do it.